Welcome to Around the Blockchain. It is I, the Nick Tater, Nick DeMundi. DZ's out today. He got laryngitis. Don't ask him how he did it, but we're going to go to our guests. We have some fantastic folks on the show today. We have, first up, Forrest, 0x stacker. Forrest, the charts tell you things, but will you tell us what the charts are telling you?
Yeah, absolutely. Are we jumping into it right now or a little bit later?
No, not right now. Not right now.
Okay.
Jayson Casper's up next. Jayson, also a chartist
Yo.
and an artist in the gym. How's it going, bro?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. RiceTVx is up next. He's a stalwart of the show. He's not a fan of the government, but you know what? He's a fan of Around the Blockchain.
Definitely.
And then we've got first time up Lorenzo at lorenzotax.com. This guy knows what's going on. Lorenzo, I think you're actually a huge fan of Bad Grandpa. Is that correct?
Very big fan.
All right, guys, we've got a fantastic show. Before we get started, you got to smash that like button. You got to hit subscribe. Don't make it weird. Don't make it awkward. We know if you're watching the video and the like button is not smashed. So just don't be weird. Go ahead and smash that like button. Give everyone here a follow. We're going to check the markets real quick. We're going to do a market watch because things were weird. I'm not going to lie. Things were weird. So if we go to coin market cap, we're going to see that Bitcoin is essentially a stable coin. Oh, the plane's back. +1 in the chat for the plane. I love the plane.
Shout out to the plane.
Let's see here. So yeah, we've got Bitcoin right now. It basically looks like a stable coin. Jerome Powell did some talking today and it was just like, meh. Whereas the markets were like, oh my God, and completely freaked out. So we're actually going to talk about the context of why this is so dumb. But let's see. Today we've had basically no movement on Bitcoin. Oops, a lot of control here. Basically no movement on Ethereum. No movement on anything. Let's see what's up for 24 hours. I mean, Shiba Swap is up 8 and change. Like literally nothing has happened today. It's been one of the most boring days in crypto as far as price action goes, but not when it comes to the news. So let's get into this real quick. So Jerome Powell today, he was on the Hill and he was talking about like, oopsie daisy, looks like inflation is not under control. Looks like I've been asleep at the wheel. And his comments today seemed hawkish, and that drove the stock market down, way down. It was like 300 points or so. So he was at the U.S. Senate Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee hearing, and he was saying, yeah, we actually may have to get back on the gas here with these interest rate hikes. Bitcoin just did a flash crash for like, I don't know, Forrest will tell us how short that was. The Dow is down 532 points. S&P is down 1.4%. There is a jobs report coming out on Friday that's really going to kind of set the pace for the next quarter. Very important jobs report, as well as CPI report coming up. Some people are thinking that there's going to be a bigger rate hike or rate hikes will continue. I think we actually had a graphic showing Powell's direct quote. I think it was earlier today. But he was there. He was with, I don't know if Janet the Felon Yellen was in there, but the banking broad was there. Banking broad was there. Hannah, do we have, yes, this is literally what he said. Some of you will suffer, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Basically, the only way to fix an economy with central banking is to make middle class and lower class Americans, lower income Americans, poor and lose their jobs. Forrest, can you tell us what the reaction were today in the markets?
Yeah, so the market crashed a little bit. Bitcoin had a small pullback. The S&P 500, which was really ripping for the last 3 trading days. Now, yesterday it was kind of flat, but it popped up quite a bit. I believe we ended the day for the S&P 500 down 1.5% below $4,000. Peaking at $4,077 the other day. So it's been a rough 2 days for the S&P 500, kind of back-to-back losses. I'm sorry, not back-to-back losses, but a rough day in that we finished a 1.5% down. And that's really based off of the futures data for the expected rate hikes, the rate hikes that the market is pricing in going up to a 50% or 50 basis point rate hike, the percentage has gone up to 70% likelihood. So we were at about a 30% likelihood, I believe, yesterday and the day before. And that after Powell's speech has now gone up to 70% likelihood of a 50 basis point rate hike versus a 25 basis point rate hike. Now, remember, last rate hike was 25 basis points. They had stepped down, and the plan or the plan that the market has been pricing in, and the plan that the Fed has talked about is doing these steady 25 basis point rate hikes until they get to their desired terminal rate, which has been around 5%, maybe slightly north of 5%. And now today, Jerome Powell said, oh, well, our terminal rate may have to increase depending on data before our next hike meeting. So in 2 weeks, we have that meeting. We have the FOMC meeting. Next week, 7 days from now, we have the CPI data release. So that CPI data release and the jobs report, to your point, are going to be two pieces of data that are going to be factored into this decision to be to have a 25 basis point rate hike or a 50 basis point rate hike. And right now, the market's really, really skittish and expecting 50 basis points, unless, of course, we get soft CPI data and inflation is showing to start dropping. So that's what you need to be paying attention to about a week from now, that CPI report.
Gotcha. Okay, so Lorenzo, I want to get your take on this. I think before the show we were going over just like something feels dislocated. There seems to be, I don't know, like the left hand isn't talking to the right hand. You talk to people who are actively managing their money. You actively manage people's money. Like, what is the general like understanding for like the whales and the people that you work with the economy? Are they feeling like we're on the upswing, on the downswing, or is there just as much confusion with actual business owners than there are with the bureaucrats in Washington?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our client base, it's really interesting because we're like a mini economy within the firm. And, I've been saying this for multiple times throughout these bull runs and bear runs where you're seeing what the people's ideas are. And it's the same conversations over and over again, which is so interesting, right? You have right now, anyone that's on a fixed wage is hurting. You're starting to see the risk-free rates becoming so high that it just pays to have money sitting in getting 5% and just sitting in the bank with some of these private banking profiles. I mean, we work with a lot of the big banks on. I know the centralized bank has its place in this platform, right? So we work with a lot of individuals that do private banking platforms at the major banks. And when you have cash that's sitting there, they're giving you such a good return on your money that people are just sitting really heavy in cash. And you're hearing all this bad news out there, the market's going down. I mean, we just actually experienced a really big run, so I'm really not surprised that it's coming down again. But people have cash sitting on the sidelines. What are they going to do with it? And we're just going on runs in certain instances, in certain industries. Like we just had this whole AI craze, and I feel like that's going to be where a lot of the big money goes. I mean, talk to all the funds. They're all looking at AI right now. Everything that's putting up chitter chatter right now is AI. But the money is not coming out as fast as it was. They're looking at deals more closely. It's not easy to get clients going to give, $50,000, $100,000, $1 million, whatever the profile is. They're not as quick to just get rid of it. So everyone's holding on a little tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's just about what's gonna entice them enough to start getting rid of it. And I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah. And we actually had a +1 for DZ in the chat. I don't know if Lorenzo and DZ are related, but I would take that as a fantastic compliment. Let's go to Jayson Casper. So Jayson, let me see here. Do you think the Fed feels the time window for QT is closing as other countries like China and Japan are now beginning to inject money back into their markets?
Well, I was just talking to Jerome Powell this morning, and he told me that, eventually they're going to have to start the QE because they can only tighten for so long. They can only do this for so long, and then they have to print. That's the only trick that's up their sleeve, to turn back on the printing press. So eventually, whether it be this year or 2024, they're going to have to start printing again. And I do think it's interesting that back in February, they did change the way that they're actually calculating CPI, where they're looking at only one previous year as opposed to 2 previous years. And I think that might have an effect the economy in general, on paper, at least on paper, because we all know on paper is different than real life, right? In real life, inflation is really high, but on paper, inflation could be low. Just like how 2 years ago, the whole entire economy shut down, but the stock market hit all-time highs. It's because, you know, they're playing a game where basically they keep doing this thing where they wreck everybody, accumulate, and then pump their own bags. So, you know, I think that's probably what's going to be happening down the road. I'm personally expecting the QT to tone down a little bit this year. That's my own personal hypothesis, just based on certain things I'm seeing in the technicals on the chart right now. So we'll have to see. But
Gotcha. Okay, hold that thought. I'm going to come back to you real quick. But Rice, I want to get your input on this. If the job market reports do indeed come out showing a steady and resilient market, could you see the Fed kind of going buck wild? Like, have they backed themselves into a corner now? Do they realize that people are having to take on second and third jobs just to make ends meet? Or are they still thinking that, oh, wow, these are healthy W-2 employees?
I think they realize that America is suffering, but they're not going to say that publicly. I'm sure behind closed doors, because I mean, I've even heard the FDIC leak that I've shared on my channel, which basically shows that there is no confidence in the banking system at all. Now, I've already called for 50 basis points. I called for that the last time when they did 25.
Yeah, me too.
And what I've been trying to say, and people aren't getting this, is that the markets are not connected to reality. And we need to start getting things set back into reality. I agree with how everybody set everything before I came on. I like what Forrest said with explaining everything, because the data is going to show where we're going. But there's also other factors too, where there's been reacceleration of inflation as well. So there's been simulation models been taking place with the Fed, where they're saying they need to possibly get up to 6.5%. A lot of people haven't been factoring that in. We're in really uncertain times, so people don't really know what to do. And when the Fed doesn't know what to do, which is what most markets are paying attention to, it brings that much more uncertainty. So in that aspect, you are going to see cash as king, and you're going to see people holding on to cash until they feel more certainty with what the markets are doing. And that's why, you know, me personally, I'm still stacking silver and gold, still starting to, you know, accumulate and stack sats. So, I mean, it's the best thing that we can do to protect ourselves, because ultimately, with this uncertainty, we're expecting, ultimately, this is the ultimate thing. We are expecting the Federal Reserve and all these other central banks to fix the problem that they created. And most of the public has some sort of mental breakdown from reality, thinking that that's actually going to take place.
Yeah. Gosh, dire situations here, but I want to look at the Bitcoin chart with Jayson real quick. So can you talk about some support and resistance? What's it looking like right now? Because like I said, it looks like Bitcoin's a stable coin right now. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, like, I feel like we're back in December here. You know, even after Jerome Powell came out a little bit more hawkish, we didn't even lose, at least on the Bybit chart, we didn't even lose the low from last Thursday. So basically what we're looking at is this. I mean, just we're clearly in an uptrend, right? If we are going to lose the low that we have at 21.4, then I'll officially be in sell and short the rise mode, right? There is still the potential right now that we do hold support at this little zone that we have, like right down here. There is potential of getting a hidden bullish divergence on the daily time frame, which is looking less likely as honestly as the day goes on. And if we look even at the 4-hour time frame right now, we could see that potentially, if the price holds this level, we would be printing right here on the 4-hour time frame this really juicy looking pattern right here, bullish divergence. This is called the uneven butt cheek pattern.
Okay, I was hoping. Yeah, okay, that's great. This is good stuff. Yeah. Can you zoom in a little bit more?
Of course. I picture. So that's very
great.
Juicy. You just pop it with the needle
for you,
and
Nick,
squeeze the juice out.
Thank you. Yeah,
it's possible, but so here's the thing: like the longer that we're consolidating here, the less bullish I become, because these that are actually starting to they're starting to disappear, right? So
there he is again. Hi, Jayson, you're back.
Yo, what's going on?
Okay, good. All right, cool. All right, so we're going to move on here to the SEC getting slammed. So Federal bankruptcy judge overseeing Voyager's effort to sell itself to Binance.us dished out some harsh words for the SEC attorneys on Monday, in particular over the agency's view that there, quote unquote, may be violations to the law. Isn't that great when the law is just kind of like this etch-a-sketch and they can kind of, wipe it and draw on it again? That's really democratic, isn't it? Judge Michael Wiles of New York's Southern District Bankruptcy Court went on to say bankruptcy code doesn't contemplate an endless period of time. Things have to be done. We have creditors who are waiting. Basically, he gave the SEC until tomorrow morning, literally March 8th, tomorrow morning, to come up with a freaking definition for what their problem is with Binance trying to help out these Voyager people. So, okay, let's go to Rice. Will Binance ultimately be successful in acquiring Voyager assets, or will the U.S. step in and stop them?
Well, I mean, we could see that the SEC is trying to play games, and I'm not really sure what the deal is. I'm not sure if there is like an issue with Binance going on with, in addition to SEC, but ultimately what this judge is doing is putting the SEC into place. And most of us in the crypto space can agree that the SEC is a joke. And this kind of situation is really showing that they are a joke. And from what I understand is if this was to take place, the customers on Voyager would be able to get the majority, if not all of their funds back, which I would think would be a good thing for the people. Why is the SEC continuing to try to do things that do not benefit the people? I thought they were supposed to be a government agency that was supposed to protect the people. And it just seems like they're doing the opposite. So we need to get rid of people like Gary Gensler. We need to get rid of the SEC entirely. We need to start redoing the way that we look at securities and update the Howey test, which is extremely antiquated because that was from a 1940s case, I believe. And we're using that as a way to judge a current modern technology as being a security or not. And then, like you said, not really giving definitives on what the regulation and what is and isn't allowed. I mean, what we've seen happen with Kraken, them going after them for the staking, that was a complete joke, especially considering that Kraken is one of the few entities that's actually trying to do things within TradFi that's on the up and up. They want to be a legitimate company. And shout out to Kraken for the banking license and starting the banking aspect. I think that's awesome that they've chosen to let go of some battles and continue the war ultimately.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let's see here. So, okay, Lorenzo, do you think the SEC actually cares about this judge's comments? And how do you think they will respond, or will they just ignore, or are they just going to slink away, go back into the shadow?
Yeah. Well, before I get into that, I wanted to just mention with Rice. I mean, I agree with what you said. I mean, there needs to be consumer protections, and it's okay that there hasn't been right as of now. We didn't want regulation, but now I see it more and more every day. I speak to people who got hurt from FTX closing, Celsius, BlockFi. I just got, and then you mentioned Kraken. I got today. BlockFi went and gave a settlement to a client of mine. He lost $500,000. They wanted to give him 80 grand. Then you have all these scams going on, left and right with people trying to take your money. Then you have, like for example, Kraken today. I had 2 people message me saying that Kraken got shut down because of all this stuff that's going on right now. And it does need to be more clear. But what you've noticed in the past with the SEC, and I don't see any different than what's going to happen with this case, is they're going to keep their mouth shut because they don't want to be wrong. Look what happened with the staking case back with that couple. Staking is not taxed until earned. They kept their mouth shut. This whole XRP case, they kept their mouth shut. I don't see it being any different now. They're going to let this day pass if they got that deadline. They're going to keep their mouth shut. And until they come and actually go and put a heavy hand down exactly what they're going to do. And I think that's going to happen sooner than later. I mean, if one thing that I've been wrong on, it's been the SEC coming out and doing regulation. I thought they were going to come out and say something multiple times, sooner than later. And I doubt that that's going to change now.
Interesting.
But that's on purpose and by design, in my opinion. I just want to add that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think a lot of this is just posturing, but okay, for Forrest, we're going to go to you. Could the SEC be shooting itself in the foot while they're kind of tangling with the Southern District of New York? What happens when a judge has basically called them out and then the SEC does nothing? Are they just digging themselves deeper in a grave?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the good byproducts of Gary Gensler and the SEC's draconian approach to regulation is that they look stupid. They just genuinely look stupid. I actually think I may have some breaking news here. Crypto lender Voyager approved to sell assets to Binance. U.S. bankruptcy judge RTRS. So that just came out on Twitter as of about 20 minutes ago, right when we started the show.
Interesting.
I don't have 100% confirmation on that. It's just a tweet, a breaking news tweet. So if so, that would be good. And that would be a big fat L for the SEC. I think the SEC is also losing the case with Grayscale. If I'm not mistaken, the judges appear to be in favor of Grayscale after the opening arguments today. Talking about, and for those who may not be on the loop on that, Grayscale essentially is the GBTC trust, and it's been trading at a massive discount because it hasn't been particularly liquid in the sense that they essentially need a Bitcoin ETF, a Bitcoin spot ETF to be approved for their GBTC trust to be realize its full value, right? For lack of a better way to put it. The judge is basically saying that the Bitcoin spot ETF and futures ETF essentially track at the same 99.9% correlation, track at the same price, and it's dumb to not have a spot ETF. So the SEC just does not make a lot of sense. They're just going after crypto for the sake of going after crypto, for the sake of power, and they're getting called out on it by various judges across various cases. So I think the SEC looks dumb, and they're going to continue to look dumb as they lose a lot of cases across the board.
Yeah, I'm very bullish on Hester Pierce ousting Gary Gensler ASAP. So, Jason, why do you think Celsius is getting a pass right now? Like the SEC hasn't really weighed in anything on that, and that I can tell you after working with Ben so much on this story is a complete cluster. If any case needs some clarity, it's the freaking Celsius case. Also, on top of that, like, how do you think retail is actually going to? These Voyager folks, these retail investors in Voyager, how do you think they're going to make out at the end?
Yeah, well, like Forrest was saying, I'm seeing here, according to Reuters, the U.S. bankruptcy judge approves Binance for a $1.3 billion deal for Voyager. So, Judge Michael Wiles approves Voyager's restructuring plan, which is built around the Binance.US acquisition at a hearing in New York. So that's pretty cool. So looks like the people involved with Voyager might turn out kind of all right after this. So that's good for them.
Do you see the SEC or there being some sort of kind of like BS obstacle popping up with this Voyager thing? Because actually, Hannah, can you take my screen right here? I'm just going to go and confirm what we already know. It's here. Watcher Guru, Binance, U.S. gains court approval to acquire bankrupt crypto lender. Are we going to get clawbacks? Do you see that happening? Or is that just a Celsius thing, just trying to screw people over?
No, we can only speculate right now. We can only speculate.
Yeah, that's very fair. We can only speculate. I will say, after doing quite a bit of research on Voyager and Celsius, Celsius managed their funds way worse. Voyager managed their token and earn program worse than Celsius did. So,
Nick, real quick, no matter what a judge decides to do in court, no matter what his verdict is, that's technically law. And the SEC has no authority to question or to go against a judge.
So if it's a Southern District of New York, is that a federal court? I should know this, but I don't. Any
court, though, any judge is going to have superior power over the SEC when it comes to making a final judgment. The SEC has to go in front of a court. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if a court makes a ruling, the SEC by law has to follow that ruling.
See, folks, this is why you watch Around the Blockchain. I'm learning something. You're learning something. Rice hopefully learned something, but this is a big exchange of information here. You get alpha on this channel every time. Speaking of alpha, you need to smash that like button. I'm wearing a shirt with our Lord and Savior Jesus on it. I don't know if you can see this. Wait, hang on. There we go. And then we actually have Jesus here in the studio.
Yeah, see that? Okay, it's like double Jesus.
Double Jesus. So look, if you're here for the gains and you're here for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, go ahead and smash that like button. What's up, buddy?
With the little biscuit in the middle.
All right. So before we get into it, we are going to actually talk about crypto tax law, because I know this doesn't sound sexy, but I can promise you when you're making your gains in the bull run, in a year and a half from now or 2 years from now, you're going to want to have clear and concise and knowledgeable crypto tax advice. Let me do, Hannah, if you could pull up my screen here. Let me do a call out to my guy, Lorenzo, LorenzoTax.com. Go ahead and book a call with Lorenzo. He can get you sorted with your crypto taxes. Yes, this is a sponsored segment, but it's only sponsored because we think this guy is awesome and he provides value to you, the Around the Blockchain community, and he's great. Obviously, he's been great the entire time. So we're going to talk about crypto tax reform real quick. Some folks, some representatives, Patrick McHenry and Richie Torres, a Republican and a Democrat, that's very important, reintroduced a bill from all the way back in 2021 called the Keep Innovation in America Act. They've reintroduced it. It failed back in 2021. Now it's 2023. They're reintroducing it, and they're trying to narrow the definition of a crypto broker for tax purposes to, quote, any person who, for consideration, stands ready in the ordinary course of a trade or business to effect sales of digital assets at the direction of their customers. Lawmakers believe the current reporting requirements for companies are hindering innovation in the crypto sector. I believe Lorenzo can confirm that. The bill went on to say the reporting requirements under current law require digital asset participants to adhere to standards that are incompatible, and I would also add incoherent with this technology's operation. So, Lorenzo, give us you could literally speak for hours about this, but can you give everyone in the audience, who just has some stuff on Uniswap, the 10,000-foot view of the absolute minefield of crypto taxes right now and how we need to define this better?
You know, it's kind of funny. I don't find it to be that bad. Guess because I've just been in it and understand it, so I can say that there's definitely. I want to use. There's three different ways I can categorize how crypto can be looked at. It's either black and white, where you know the rules, gray, where there's subjectivity, or clear, which I find to be the most dangerous, is where there's nothing there to be interpreted, and you have to just you see what you see, and people make their own judgments.
You're out in the
open. That's where you have a little bit of where you have those errors. And what I find to be, it's actually a little upsetting that all this time has come and nothing has really been said at this point when it comes to crypto tax and how to handle it. But I think there's a reason for why it's been that way. But up until now, there are standards to go by. And it's pretty clear if you know what you're doing, and you out there know your crypto situation better than anyone. So no CPA or person's if you give them their tax software and you put connect all your wallets and it spits something out for you, because I suggest that everyone use a crypto tax software. Do not try to do this stuff manually. It becomes so much easier once you put all your data into one and you can see everything. Because it's really split up into a few different categories. You have your buys of what went in. You have your withdrawals that went left that are not part of your circle. You have internal transfers that go from wallet to wallet. And you have sells. It's those categories. And if you can segregate those categories, get the right information in, it's pretty simple. Now, the complexities come when you get into DeFi. Are you buying, trading, and selling NFTs? Are you getting airdrops because of something? Is something rebasing? Are you on an offshore trading exchange that's getting, a percentage that comes in every month? And at that point, it's bookkeeping and it's disclosures. What I would suggest for anyone out there is keep good records, because when they come down, they will come asking. I was just shown this before. This is a hard drive. This is literally from the IRS, a guy that's getting audited. There are 3 million trades on here. And they're really easy to work with. They want to get this done right. And it's hard when you have all this information and you have exchanges that went down that you can't get information from anymore. And you have, someone who's on Binance International that they're having a hard time getting that data. You have missing pieces of information. And that's one of the complexities, right? You don't have a complete picture. But if you have a complete picture, you know what you've done, it shouldn't be that terrible.
Got it.
But you got to use the right technology. Yeah. And when it comes to these bills, I read that bill and it's not comprehensive enough. I mean, I could see why it didn't pass. There's so many loose ends. And ironically, in college, my minor was financial market regulation. It's just funny how my cumulative experience over the years brings you to today. So financial market regulation, look at the history of regulation. We usually take a reactive approach, meaning something happened, how we're going to fix it. It's never proactive. So I wouldn't be surprised if they continue that trend. Now, what just happened? We had this whole FTX collapse. We had all these, like you said, the Celsius, the Voyagers. We're going to have to learn from those things and put safeguards in place.
Got it.
From the corporate side, FASB's just coming out now and coming up with rules on the corporate end of like, if a corporation wants to hold crypto, what happens? I mean, how many instances have we seen where, there's so much volatility. You buy it, Bitcoin, let's say at 50,000 last year. I mean, look at MicroStrategies. They were a prime example. They were buying all the way down. Every time they bought Bitcoin, if you sold it, you would have made money. Because I feel like it drops every time they publicly come out and say they bought Bitcoin. Every time Michael Saylor's out there saying he's buying. But these types of rules are, I would not be surprised if the regulation comes and it's more reactive versus, it's a reactive approach versus proactive.
Okay, great. And then, so I want to go to Forrest.
Rambling on there. But,
no, man, this is your core competency. I love it. I'm going to come back to you. I have one more question for you, but I do want to go to Forrest real quick. Do you think lawmakers will be able to push through this bill or any regulatory bills this year, or is this just posturing and they're all going to perish?
I think we'll actually start to see an uptick in the amount of pro-crypto regulation. Essentially this bill saying, hey, the way that we are currently taxing with our current requirements are a little bit stringent here, right? The bill is essentially saying, according to the article, that miners and stakers and nodes and whatnot do not need to be collecting that financial data and transactional data. If you're running a node and you have all of these, you're processing all of these transactions, those transactions are not necessarily yours. And by having these stringent requirements on these node operators or Bitcoin miners or any type of cryptocurrency miners, it's just not productive. What I think you're going to see is you're going to see some of these state politicians look at crypto as an area that they can gain a lot of traction and a lot of support for being pro-crypto, right? We're seeing this pattern of Gary Gensler and the SEC making fools of themselves, taking this really, really draconian, harsh approach towards crypto. And a lot of people are becoming a lot of passionate people and voters are becoming more and more anti-establishment. We see 5, 6, 7+% inflation, and people know the monetary system is broken. So while I do believe, and I'm probably not alone here, that a lot of our government and our democracy has been perverted by corruption, there's still byproducts and there's still facets of democracy that that work as intended. And I think one of the positive byproducts of the harsh regulation that we're seeing come out towards crypto from the SEC is that these state and local politicians are going to take pro-crypto stances because they know that's what the people want and they want votes, right? So if the people want to be pro-crypto and they don't want to be subject to having crypto, move offshore, then these state and local politicians, the incentive is there for these easy layups. And one of the most incredible things about this bill is that it's, I believe it's bipartisan. There's a Democrat and a Republican co-sponsoring this bill, which is very difficult, right? We're in a period of gridlock, but they're proposing this bill together, and it actually starts to make sense. So you're going to see a lot of common sense legislation pushed forward, I think, at the state level and at the federal level as well.
Yeah, I hope so. On that, Rice, do you think that kind of the opacity of the tax code, especially when it comes to crypto, and I know Lorenzo feels like it's, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, but for us normies, it's not. Do you think this is a smokescreen to keep things vague so that CBDCs can get a better hold, or is this just straight up plain old government incompetence? They're just trying to legislate something they don't understand.
I would say it's a combination of all the above.
Impossible.
And my feeling.
You mean there's nuance, Rice?
The tax code is BS. in my opinion. I mean, it's a book that's like something like this. I mean, I'm sure that Lorenzo can't even quote everything that's in that book, and it would be almost impossible for anybody to do that. What is up, Mr. Ben Armstrong?
Guys, this is Ben
But
Armstrong.
also, our form of taxation is theft.
Look at that pretty
Our
thing.
form of taxation is theft. We need to abolish the IRS 100%, in my opinion, because I know where the money is going. And the other thing that I want to say is that we need to be careful about the CBDC legislation that comes into play, because we could have automatic taxation taking place within that programmable form of currency. But again, no, it's dirty white fried rice, Ben.
He's talking about dirty white fried rice.
Hey, Rice, when are you coming down to visit us? Oh, mic drop.
Yeah.
He deferred to answer. He declined. Wow. Okay, Rice. I won't take it personally.
I think after the cruise, because he was going to be in. I'm not sure when he's
after the cruise
be in town.
Okay.
So,
all right. Good. All right, hang on.
I
missed.
Abolish the IRS and taxation and theft. I just want to repeat that again.
Well, I would have to say Lorenzo would disagree, because he'd be out of a job, back to the restaurant business. I did keep track of your points, Rice.
I'm sure he can figure out something though.
Yeah, Lorenzo has definitely been a top tier guest today. I do want to get to Jayson Casper real quick. So, with new laws being written because of the rise of crypto, do you think the federal tax code is going to get overhauled in like one fell swoop? Is it going to be like 1,000 cuts, or is it going to be so slow and we're going to see people just move off into DeFi and then capital flight, and then crypto isn't a problem for the United States anymore because all the money's gone?
That's a good question. It is funny because when I first got into Bitcoin, it was because I didn't want to pay taxes, and it was because I didn't want to use a bank. And now everybody's putting their crypto, giving it to Sam Bankman, and getting screwed and paying taxes on it. So, I mean, who really knows what's going to come of all this, man? I don't know.
So, like, when you're doing trades, like you're doing a lot of trades, you're doing like 3 million trades, maybe. Like, is this something?
I do a lot of
Like,
trades,
trade
man.
at all.
It
doesn't
right.
you don't
I
trade
yeah.
at all,
It's
do
all
you, Jason? It's all
paper
make
trading.
believe.
It's
all
all
paper
paper
trading.
trading for me.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's so weird. Like I every ledger I've bought, I've forgotten the seed phrase too. I put like 5 or 6 Bitcoin on there, and every single ledger just there's something wrong with ledgers. Yeah. They just find themselves on a boat, and then the boat sinks, and I can't get it. So
many boating accidents in crypto. It's like the biggest thing that we should have cause for worry for is all these boating accidents that we all experience.
Yeah. Can we get some legislation on boating safety? First of all, we need legislation on train safety. My God. And second of all, we need boating safety. Lorenzo, real quick, we're almost out of time here. So, like, I had some people in the chat. I'm actually doing a chat Q&A here. By the way, shout out to the chat. Y'all been great today. I've seen bowls of rice for Rice. I've seen +1 Zoe. So, Lorenzo, you already have a nickname in the chat, so you have to come back now.
Zoe is my nickname. That's what they used to, because Lorenzo's too long to be yelling. So like,
yeah, Zoe. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go. Perfect. Okay. So let's first of all smash that like button. Chat has been amazing today. Thank you all so much for coming out. But I do want to ask Lorenzo, when it comes to like crypto tax losses, I hear all these like weird things about like, hey, if you bought Dogecoin and it went up, and then to like 20 cents, but then in January it crashed down to 9 cents, then you still owe all that tax. That's all profit. Like, are crypto profits the same as regular stock market profits, or are they different?
It's really similar. So there's
Okay.
unrealized gains and realized gains. So you got to just differentiate between the two. Realize is what you've actually bought and sold it, right? You've realized it, you've sold it. So if you held up to your Doge and you bought it when it was sub penny, and now you wrote it all up, but you just let it sit there the whole entire time, you've never sold, you never realized those gains. So you have to differentiate between the two. And that's where you stop spinning around in circles. Use the technology for what it is. There's software that helps you record all this stuff and let it be your friend. So put it all in there, and then it can analyze this data for you. So you can see what you sold. And people don't realize sometimes when you move crypto, that results in a capital gain. That's or loss. That's the difference between stocks and crypto. Stocks is just purely like spot trading. Like you buy it, you sell it, there's a gain or a loss. Crypto is you buy it, it goes up, you don't do anything, so you don't realize anything. But then you maybe swap some ETH for whatever, And that swap is considered a taxable event. So you don't even think about these things when you're doing them, but you may be incurring gains or losses throughout the life of these transactions. And that's where the software comes in. So that's, step number one is that. So if there's something that's confusing for you, just keep to the basics. So I say, keep it easy, make it easy. Step one, make sense of the data, put it into a software and go from there.
Got it. That's fantastic. Folks in chat are loving it. They're saying deep alpha and they love it. I want to go around the blockchain real quick. Go ahead,
They're
Rice.
actually trying to come after your unrealized gains. There has been legislation that's been introduced for that as well, which is complete BS. But
that's the banking broad, right? Or was that Janet Yellen?
Like big guys, you know what I mean? That's if you're someone who's like super high, like a really high net worth. I mean, to do an unrealized gains tax on a normal average Joe, I think is just not going to happen. But someone, like an Elon that doesn't pay taxes, but the price of Tesla goes up and he makes $50 billion. Like that's something that they're trying to get a clip off of.
Okay. Yeah, because they have to offset all the money they sent to Ukraine. Anyways, let's go around the blockchain real quick. Yeah, so I want to just get everyone's just real quick. Like right now, we're consolidating. We're in the bear market. Is there an alt outside of the top 20 that you're looking at to either hodl or swing trade? We'll start with Forrest.
Yeah, I have the vast majority of my portfolio in Dust right now, which is a low cap. It's at like 75 million.
Great project.
I'm not here I'm not here to shill Dust protocol. It's the ecosystem token of DeGods and Utes. But if you ask where my money's at, that's where it is. They're migrating over to Ethereum soon, and I expect some upside. So will be interesting for sure.
Sweet. Jayson Casper, what you got, bro?
I'm also into Dust, and a lot of that is because of Forrest.
Wow.
So shout out to Forrest.
Wow. 2 votes for Dust. That's fantastic. Rice, what's on your radar?
It's actually one of my sponsors, man. It's a token called Presearch. I know a lot of the things that are going on the back end. It's a decentralized search engine. They're getting ready to launch a foundation/DAO. And they've incorporated ChatGPT into their searches, which will be available publicly very soon. If you're media and you're interested, you can reach out to the Presearch team, and they will give you access to the AI search within the search browser. But yeah, I think AI is a big thing. We've seen the success with Bing and obviously Google talking about adding it to their search, and just the overall craze with AI. I know some partnerships that are happening. So Presearch, man, I just think people need to look into it.
That's also, I think, one of the most profitable nodes to operate if you are running a validator right now. Lorenzo, you don't have to chime in if you don't want to, but if you've got a crypto project that you like, or you can plead the fifth.
No, I trade. I mean, I can give you a couple, I guess, to see like what clients. I mean, lately I've been staying a little bit more on just the bigger cap coins. I mean, I always follow Matic. I think you got big banks behind it and big money behind it. So I think that's just something to always, follow the money. And then something smaller, Secret Network, because I have a lot of clients in. And honestly, now with just the way that the market is, you can get to some arbitrage opportunities, like any of these bot traded opportunities that can just, take advantage of some of these swings. I think that's honestly some of the bigger plays right now. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Well, Lorenzo, you took it away. You took it away. Chat was all about it. They love the alpha. So you get to a quick 30-second sign off. Tell us what you got. You have won around the blockchain. Congratulations.
Oh, look at that. I guess 30 seconds. Let me just go off and say, if you're out there, like, your situation best, like I was mentioning, so take advantage of this and file your crypto taxes. You can be really smart about this and be aggressive in the right places to really truly save. So you don't have to not report anything and be in more trouble when you can report everything and almost save some money, because most of the people lost money. So if you want to do this right, we do a free consultation with someone on the team. Reach out to us. We're more than happy to answer any questions for you. We've been doing a course, if you want to just learn it on your own and do DIY. So there's a lot of opportunities here. We're more than happy to help you out. So feel free to reach out.
That's awesome. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, all the guests. Give everyone here a follow. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate everyone coming out. Rice, Forrest, Jayson Casper, Lorenzo. I'm Nick the Money, the Nicktator. This has been Around the Blockchain. Have a great week, y'all.